Why should we use a silicone render? So Chris, we're often asked what sort of render we should use in retrofitting solid wall properties. Do you want to just give us a quick overview of what is a silicone render and perhaps why we use it?
Yeah, I mean, we do get asked that quite a bit actually. So silicones are a type of polymer that you mix in with, you create a sort of a paste with. You have aggregate mixed in with that. You have colours mixed in with that. It's water-based, so it's nice and easy to use, and that's applied to the surface of a base coat render, normally a line-based base coat render, but it's very water repellent, and that's the critical thing with wood fibre. Wood fibre is an amazing product, but it needs protection from the weather. So we use these kind of products to allow vapour movements. It's quite a vapour permeable material, but it does keep the rain out.
Yeah. So I think traditionally, if you've got a traditional lime rendered building and you're maybe taking no other intervention, a traditional lime render would be a perfectly adequate way to render a building and afford reasonably good weather protection. But especially where wood fibre external wall insulation, for example, is used, a traditional lime render generally is far too water permeable.
Exactly.
There's a huge amount of absorption of moisture during periods of precipitation into what is now essentially a cold exterior surface because of all the insulation that you might have added externally. So having a render, as you say, which is vapor permeable enough to allow some drying of moisture, but actually water repellent enough to reduce the absorption of precipitation into those outer layers of insulation.
Exactly, that's really important, and keeping the wood fibre dry is the critical thing. If you put a standard lime render over wood fibre insulation, the amount of moisture that will be held in the render and in the outer layer of wood fibre is huge, and over time it will just degrade the surface of the wood fibre.
And the other thing we notice as well is, especially as we're moving towards an increasingly wetter climate and these sort of longer and stronger periods of precipitation, even when the insulation is installed on the inner face of a solid wall, if you can have a sort of reasonably water repellent but vapor permeable exterior render, it actually massively reduces the moisture burden on historic fabrics. So you can use sort of these thin coat lime and silicone renders over a sort of a mesh coat of another lime-based plaster to massively increase the water repellency of the facade, and that means that it really opens the door to what you can do then on the inner side of the wall in terms of retrofit.
I've been talking about wood fibre, but it applies to any sort of substrate really. Historical, modern, masonry or insulating. You don't really want loads of water soaking into your render every time it gets wet. So silicone's a great way to reduce that. And we're pragmatists as well. We're trying to look for the best solution for a project or for a scenario. And just because lime renders were used historically doesn't mean they always have to be used. In a modern context, there are much better materials out there to use. Yes, they may contain synthetic materials, but from a pragmatic point of view, that's the best thing to use.
Yeah, brilliant.